Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Friday, December the 28th, 2018. And I'm here this evening with my good friends, Lisa Flamino Rush and VZ Rieger. And we were chatting before we started the camera, and I noticed a similarity in something VZ was sharing and what Lisa has been working on. And so I started asking questions. I thought, wait a minute, we'll just record it if everybody's open to that. So, BZ, you were kind of sharing with us that as you were looking through some of your pictures, it was like you go unconscious. And then when you come back, okay, now we're doing this again. And so it immediately brought to mind some of what Lisa has been working on with her consciousness, and what I've kind of wondered about because of those experiences of being in the van and feeling myself in the field and having a tea party and, you know, doing other things all at one time, but not being able to, I when I experienced it, it was all at once, but I couldn't, it was almost like snippets. It's not like I got to fully immerse in the experience, and yet I could feel it taking place. And I've often wondered about other embodiments. I've read about other folks that are aware of other physical embodiments, and I have become aware of a few of mine. And so I've wondered how our consciousness, our focus and attention, I've been thinking about how, you know, we direct that at will to be fully conscious and bring that experience back into this now moment. Because I'm also very clear that I am doing things at night outside of this realm and outside of this physicality. And sometimes I'm not sure that that's even so. Sometimes I think the physicality goes with. Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening. And I'm not even sure what we'll title it, but so you want to explain what you were talking about, BZ? What happened to you? What happens to you?
Yeah, actually something in the way you just described that, hang on, my mic is, something in the way that you just described that made me think of a couple of things to kind of highlight, just as I don't know, maybe instead of a process, because it's not necessarily a process, it's the unfolding points, maybe. One of the things I was started in explaining to you is that we're doing this again, meaning we're doing this again because this is something that I have done a lot in various stages, iterations, or whatever, but I haven't done it for quite some time. The last time I remember having, you know, kind of collections of times when I was do it, like, you know, for a week would happen a lot, or there was a month stretch it would happen a lot, and then there'd be breaks of time, and that was 2004 was the last big time. And part of, for me, from my understanding, is that there are trying to kind of think of the English language way to describe it. On the one hand, I could say they're quantum jumps in quantum jumps, stop, quantum jumps in ability in bringing stuff back, to use linear words. Quantum, the reason I say the quantum jumps is because it's a jump, and the reason that it's, for me, I'll describe what it's like in a moment, why it's like that instead of something similar, things that I've described before where I can do multi-locational consciousness at the same time and be in it like right away. Does that make sense?
I think so. When you said wide awake, it means that the little BZ in the shirt part of you, and I don't know how to also explain it. I know that for me, I'm holding that this particular consciousness that I'm speaking through right now at the level that I am is the little Sheila portion. Okay, it's not all
it's a good placeholder.
Right, that's right. That's all it is, because it's not. I'm more than that, but I'm also.
But we're using a linear brain, talking to linear brain, so it helps if we peg a few things in the linear-esque way.
There you go.
Wholly inaccurate, but it kind of gives you an idea.
Right, and so when you're saying that wide awake, meaning that you bring that back into the consciousness that you now hold in your physicality.
No, actually,
right here, so to speak. Oh, okay.
No, actually, what I was talking about, there have been times when I've relayed, and I think I know certainly off camera, but on camera, where I can be at work, standing up, fully awake, fully conscious, doing something that's work.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll say, me or another me, however you want to hold it, says, okay, we need you here. So this shirt's going to keep doing what you're doing at work as a task. It's got to be paid attention to, but you not driving a car, although I say that and then I think, well, wait a minute, there are times I've done this driving a car too, so I'm going to take that off the table. Okay, so at work, doing something outside, doing a job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And me says to me, hey, we got to go do X, which is not on this planet doing X and involved. And so I go off and I'm doing X, and I see, feel, sense, know, partake, contribute, in me with all of there doing that. And the me here is still doing that. And one of the ones, the example that I gave, talking about on camera, is then someone at work walks up to where I am and starts talking to me that's doing what I'm doing, standing up, doing it. And the me that's, again, I'm just using pleasures, out over there doing whatever I'm doing over there, that's not me here at work, at the job, job,
Mm-hmm.
says, okay, and more, and all of me, or that's not accurate, but a lot of me, consciousness wise or focus wise, comes back in to the shirt, turns to the person who just said something, and I say, excuse me? And they repeat it, and I say, yes, I'm just going to finish this here, and it'd probably be like 5 or 8 minutes. Okay, fine, and off they go. And then me goes back to doing this, and me goes over here to finish up some of that, although I'm certain it's not like I'm hopping there, just my attention. So It's very frustrating to describe this.
No, but I feel what you're saying. That's why I have thought a lot about this. I have been feeling into exactly this topic, especially after that experience. And it is the reason the focus and attention part seems to stand out for me in regards to that, because when you were talking about the driving piece, I went right there, because there's not a person on the planet that hasn't driven home the same way that they always drive home and look around and, oh, wait a minute, I don't remember getting here. Because that is sort of a rote type thing, and the consciousness, and when I say what I'm talking about, a right here part of me didn't need to be there, because it was, I mean, I was there, but I wasn't there.
Right.
I call that autopilot.
Right. But in the event of something needing my focus and attention, I was there enough. And that's what I'm feeling that you're describing in regards to the work that you are doing at work while you're doing something else in
Yes,
another body.
because I could look down and the me in the shirt had gotten the work accomplished, right? And when I said, 5 to 8 minutes, it finished up the work and was back over here finishing that up, and then all of me was off going to meet this person. That's not what I was talking about before we went on camera. So it's what I'm saying is, when it first started happening many, many, many years ago, before 2004, when I would have things, that's why I describe it as a multiple levels and layers of up jumps in different things. And maybe as we talk more out and go into what those are, but and so when I was doing what we're all going to describe in a minute, the very first time, a long, couple decades ago, and then subsequent times. And like I said, the last one was in 2004 that I remember a series of times doing it until yesterday. Those are big leaps, and if you were going to like put a box, in certain aspects of the quantumness, the jump of it. And but the part that I just described is the rote part, is that happens all the time. Yeah, no big, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to kind of delineate between.
Okay.
Okay. So can you go then into more of what you were describing before then? Because perhaps
Meaning of yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. So, a linear way I would describe it, without kind of getting into the detail of it, is I was sitting at my computer and I was fully focused and ensconced in what I was doing. And what I happened to be doing was going through 2,000 photographs that I'd taken on an eagle photography float trip that I did the day before. So very focused, very intent on that, very happy, and I know that what I was doing, what I had done the day before in that whole experience, and then re-ensconcing myself in that as I was just doing the very first sort, to throw out the fuzzy or there's nothing there but trees and water and no ego kind of a thing. So sorting and winnowing, and focused. The combination of those two things and whatever else that I've been doing and the energies and my own, 100% commitment, all that kind of stuff, I think would speak to why then or why now for this jump. I think that the ego expedition was a amplification tool. No, I know it was an amplification tool because that feels absolutely right.
The word catalyst popped into my head.
Yes, and you know what? That's why I was the only one on the boat. That's why all the other 5 people canceled. Okay, so that makes perfect sense. So, and probably why I missed a bunch of things I was talking about. Anyways, so that was the reason I point that out, is because what I had done the day prior and what I was doing in that moment when it started happening again is related, is maybe the launch pad, maybe the button pushing on the ejection seat, or however you okay.
Yep.
So now to describe just from a linear way what I was doing, I was looking at the computer, had my hand on the mouse, I was thinking about the things, I was looking at images full screen. It's a fairly large computer screen, the one over here, and so fully in it. Because no pictures, just like anything else, are static. They are multidimensional. So, you actually are right there, whether you've taken the picture or not. If you take the picture, usually there's an amplification of that right there. So anyways, I could describe it that I completely went unconscious. That's not accurate because I can describe other things that happened, but just from the first kind of blush to say, I'd be going along, I'd be looking at something, I'd be moving the mouse, and boom, unconscious. And then boom, oh, okay, moving the mouse, looking at the next picture or something. And then I'd be doing that for a bit, right here, and then boom, gone. And then boom, back, and then boom, gone. So does that relate at all?
Yes, it does. And my question to you when you started describing that was, when you come back, were you bringing anything from where you were with you? Because partly I think in this moment while you were describing that, I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's been happening to me a lot, but I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. And when I come back, I'm like, okay, it's like I don't know where the time goes sometimes. It's like, so I think that might be why I was wondering about,
Yes,
if
and
you're
so
bringing
a couple
back.
ways I would answer that is, because this is very familiar to me and has happened to me many times on many occasions, although the last one was in 2004. It was in August of 2004, because I can remember time frame I was doing. So in those earlier times, especially the first, it would have been maybe over a 7-8 year period. It would happen here and there and then not, and then here and there. The first couple of times I'm like, okay, just like you described, don't know I knew what I was doing because I was still sitting there kind of doing it, but I don't know where I went or what happened or where'd I go or other than feeling completely rejuvenated and rested, albeit with my mind kind of blown, going, you know, kind of thing. And then as I went through it, you know, at different times, I would get more of a sense because I was allowing me to at least pull more of it back, integrate more of it, and that's a very linear, poor way to describe it. Traveling here to now, what I would say is getting comfortable on that multidimensional and toroidal. So I'm curious to hear more about what you're experiencing with Lisa, and then I'll get into the details later of yesterday with me. But so now it would be that I can, for some reason, the word the carousel, and I don't necessarily mean a horse carousel, but like there's a carousel in a slide projector. So it's a round black, usually black thing, and it has tiny little slots, and you put the slides, the chromachrome slides in them, and as it goes in the projector, the carousel slides, you know, one thing at a time, and it pops the slide up so that it can light it, and it shoots it out, you know, on the wall. And what comes to mind for me as a good way to describe it, hey, excuse me. What comes to mind as a good way to describe it is as a multidimensional toroidal carousel, like that. And so in pulling those back, you might think of a, you know, 4 or 5 level chessboard, but it's round and all the things, and they can pop up, and you can pop up or see the ones that popped up and pull those back and then look at them here. I never used to be able to do that before. This is the first time that I've done it now, just from that instant. And that's why I say it's a quantum jump, because it's different and more than the experiences where I could have like the work thing I just relayed that happened a while ago, or other things where I can be doing something like this, have a conversation and hearing of here that's off world, and have something that's here on this planet, but not in this geographic location. So those I've gotten very used to, and all at the same time. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that's all at the same time when I do this. But this new thing is a new jump. So part of, again, before I go into more detail of it, part of it is there's a newness to it. So there's different, but some of what you described, Sheila, going, you know, kind of a thing, because it's new and there's a familiarity, but it's not, you know, yeah, no big deal. This weird shit happens all the time, you know. It's completely new weird stuff.
How fun!
Oh, I gotta learn something new. I was really just getting the hang of this other stuff. What?
Yes, indeed.
And it's funny because as I think of it, it mirrors, remember I was describing, and I'm glad that you actually asked to do this because I think this would be helpful for all three of us. Remember I was describing to you some of the things that I was going to do a railing by the river about thing. Some of the things, okay, I got it. Yes, I'm going to do it. And those were linear things that I was talking about in some respects, but it's the same kind of getting all that to work or getting thrown off stride by all of that and then pulling it all into flow by all of that is on a linear thing, is this very similar to what, since it's been what 2004, so was that 18 years or something?
It's 14
years. So it's been 14 years of, and I'm completely different than, to figure out how to
right
do it again. But it's very exciting because the past times when these things happen, it's like, yeehaw!
Well, now, Lisa, would you mind sharing some of what you've been experiencing, or how you've been finding this, what we're talking about, for your experiences?
Yeah, sure. I think it's funny that, we're kind of working on similar things, or there's a similar vein in everything going on right now, which is kind of fun. So I've been trying to, so I've kind of had that experience of being in two places at once too, and having a conversation with another part of myself while performing a simple task has been going on for a while for me too. And I had set aside certain times for when I'll converse, all that. So I've been chucking that out the window, right? Trying to be here, right? Trying to be here now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of here and now inside, I'm discovering. So for me, my next quantum jump in my own little experience here has been that other parts of me would like to have access to me more on a, hey, we need you over here right now, not,
yes. That's
an hour next weekend.
I just want to stop you for a second because what you described right there is exactly what happened. It's like, Lisa, we got a meeting now, come on.
Yes.
And you can't say, well, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or he does. I can tell you right now, in these energies, I mean, you could kind of not really sort of maybe pull it off before. Right now, no. When they say Lisa or Sheila or Josephine or Tom or Jose, whatever it is, you have to figure out how to deal with this here now, because you have to go or you will be taken.
Yes.
To go.
Yep. Yes. And that's really okay. So I've been holding it as well, it's kind of reminding me of my religion days. It's like prayer, while you pray before your meal, and there's certain times where you do these things. But I'm really trying to embody now my multidimensionality. So that means being here now in this physical environment that I'm in, but also that there are parts of me residing all over the place. I discovered that would like the attention of the me in this moment of now, because I'm boots on the ground, and I, the little me, actually has all the power here because I am the one here now. And to be present to bring all of me, my entire multi-dimensional self, into each moment is my soul's purpose.
Yes.
And so every moment that I am in alignment with that, then, I'm executing what I came here to do. And what I realized is that there's a lot more moments than I was giving myself credit for. Like eternity is a super long time. These moments don't ever stop coming. So I have to choose consciousness at every moment of now. And so I'm just really realizing how unconscious I truly have been walking through my life, because I've been doing it rather on automatic pilot versus consciousness. So yeah, I've been working with, the parts of me that would like to have more access to me, and that they're craving my constant contact. And I had never really thought of it in terms of my being able to access all of me at all. Like honestly, my belief system says I can't do all that. I can't be there and here and sing and walk on this tightrope and all this stuff you want me to do. And in reality, I was built for that. So I just have to learn really how to get reacquainted with who I am. So these quiet moments that I have been taking most recently have served me very, very well, because I have also discovered that I wasn't making it a priority. Like everything external to me was the priority because they're here now. Everything here is in my presence. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can smell it. So it has a priority. And that's not right. I am cutting off so much of myself in favor of what I'm looking at, that so I'm reassessing exactly who I am and what I have access to in every moment of now. And so that's what Sheila's been hearing a lot about from me.
I made a bunch of notes because it's very cool. So a couple things I will say. I'm told to just read them as the notes, and then however they land, I think we can play with them.
Okay.
So Lisa just gave a beautiful example of you're not small, and you're not, and you are incredibly far. So you, each of you, all of us, use the royal you and Sheila you and Lisa you and all that. Keegan you and all that. So you're not small. You're not the little human. A lot of times, I haven't heard so much recently, but a lot of times it would be with previous channelings or other things, and everybody's gathered to see the humans because the humans are going to evolve, and but there was still that hierarchical thing until all got the memo. Hey y'all, it's happening y'all, so get off it, kind of a thing. So you're not small, you're not the little human that's catching up with all those cool star beings and galactics and all that kind of stuff, but they're still hierarchical. Okay, you are ground zero. You are the vessel. You are the destination. And you are, I didn't quite get how to write this last point down, but you are the Gaia point of the Trinity. So what comes up for you guys with those things that came in?
My hand just started doing something weird with that last one, the Gaia point of the Trinity. So that's interesting. Well, what was coming in for me a lot when Lisa was speaking, and I felt into whether or not it's something that I need to say, and it is. um, it has to do with the being here now. You were saying, Lisa, that you were because the minute you said that, I could see the twist that goes on, and that
Okay.
because in some, I don't know, belief system circles, whatever you want to say, the be here now does all really sort of apply to the external. You know what I mean? Like pay attention to what is in your field external.
Yes, but not to the exclusion of the rest of me.
Exactly. No, I know, but I'm in agreement with that. And that's why I'm saying, for some reason it came, maybe it was a question, I don't know, but it came in, and it came in twice.
Okay.
To say that, like, and I'm glad you put it like that, not to the exclusion of, not only because it is.
Because I could even hear the nigglings. Like sometimes I've caught myself going, wait a minute, I'm doing something right now. This is important. And I've had to go, really? How important is this? What is this? And why is this more important? No, honestly, I've had to, it's funny, but I've caught myself doing it more than once. So it's more than comedy. It's getting in my own way.
Right, but you're bringing out the point that I was trying to make.
Oh.
In that
Yeah,
there are some belief systems that well that would say, well, then you needed to stay present in what you were doing, what you were focused on. But no, you went a little deeper than that and said, wait a minute, what? Because that could become a little bit confusing. It did to me, and sometimes still does feel confusing. What because this is a big one for me, focus and attention.
Yes.
And yes, everything around me is informing me of everything, and I am the one informing all of it. It's all a feedback loop.
Yeah.
I see that now for myself. But also, because there is so much vying for one's attention and focus, as I become aware of other embodiments of self, it is indeed that focus and attention, and my consciousness, maybe it's the ego part of me that wants this, or maybe it is what is coming down the pike that I'm sensing and feeling, is the ability to, well, BZ, you've actually said that you can do this. You can know where you are off doing.
Yes, that's
this.
that's part of the quantum jump.
I just wanted, I think I needed or wanted to highlight the fact that, yes, it can feel a little confusing because, like I said, there are those little twists in some things that lead one down a particular path because you think you're doing the right thing, and come to find out, oh, wait a minute, I wasn't paying attention to the internal like I should have, or
see, that's part of the quantum jump. So what you both are describing, that's why these phrases came out. So be here now, yes, chop wood, carry water. Be here now, washing the dishes. Be here now, subject to weather. Yes, absolutely. But you're multidimensional. You're not linear. It's not one track.
Right. Isn't the only here or now?
No, exactly.
And all the bees are being here now, and you're the ground zero. That's what I'm saying. You're the vessel. So all of this imploding is the be here now, and all of you is being, all of those here now, right? Because in that holding, you as the So I'll just say the words that I could grab in for the last part. You are the Gaia point of Trinity. Okay, because there's something big there, and I think it'll come to me what it is in a minute. So how to describe this? So Sheila, I mean, Lisa, you were, well, Sheila, you talked about it a minute ago, but Lisa, you were describing, well, there was a lot of me's who wanted my attention, right? Because that's part of what you hate this language. So that's what you're doing, is to come and be here now and bring what, where, who, what, how that you over there are being. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
And that's why you're the ground zero, because you're bringing it here. Part of this holding then is the ability for, so Sheila has a pink shirt on, right? And it's in the evening. And so one of these parts of self comes and says, okay, I'm here, or I'm going to take you there. And so you may go and come back and go, what? I have no idea what I've been doing, right? Okay. So on the one hand, you could say that you've gone off and experienced something. It's all you, right? But it's the focus and attention, or the move. Okay, you're in many different movies simultaneously. Let's play with that for a minute. And so Sheila in the pink blouse, who hangs out on the set of CCC a lot, right? And that's part of her movie, is now going to visit, and I'm just going to use this as an example. So Sheilette, on the the birds, as in Alfred Hitchcock set, on X planet of X dimensional and X level of embodiment etherealness at the same time, right? So you've gone to visit over there what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
As you make these jumps, then you can have it where you can be Sheila, in your bedroom or out in the yard, right? Maybe during a musing or after musing or whatever, just to give an example. And you can, or simultaneously, well, you'll start to notice it, where you're doing a musing and you're with Sheilette over here at the same time. You are focusing as Sheilette, doing whatever that being is doing, and you're musing at the same time. You're not missing a beat in the musing. You're feeling that, and you're just not giving from an external, and this is where the thing is, from the external perception, looking back at you, that's not the majority of your focus attention, but you know exactly what's going on. Does that make sense so far? So there,
Yeah.
so as we refamiliarize, so it's a combination of remembering, refamiliarizing, working muscles that haven't been worked in a long time, quantum jumping to beyond the level that we remembered, to something new. So if we were in, let's say, 10th grade before, on the ability for this, training wise, and we don't remember, here in this shirt and the linear thing, we're barely in, like, visiting in nursery school. And we're remembering the 10th grade. So wow, that's kind of a jump. But since we're here now and we're all asking and all clamoring and all, hey, Lisa, we got to be here now. We're all being here now, and we're all leaping at the same time, because now we're leaping in a creation to 12th grade, which we haven't been to on on many expansiveness levels we haven't been to yet. Of course, when you come out even further, there is no end, there is no beginning, and we're all of it. But since everybody's head is spinning right about now, we won't go that way. We'll just stay with that. So when you said, Lisa, I realize I'm not being here now, I smiled because on the one hand, oh, you have no idea how absolutely right you are, and wrong's not the right word, but how absolutely inaccurate that statement is at the same time. Because in the Trinity and the new creation, you are the here, you are the now, and all the bees, the beings, which are you, are coming here and being here now. Does that make sense? And that's why you have that feeling of they want my attention. And you said, well, that's flipping you out a little on the linear thing, because the linear being was thinking I'm small, and hey, the star brothers and sisters, my star family, my guys, they got it all going on. I mean, they know everything and I know nothing. And so I need that, right? Am I painting the right kind of picture? And now you're thinking, sensing, and starting to knowing that they want to be here now with me, and you're going, me? Little me? Just little me? And I don't think you've quite gotten it there in the linear kind of, but you're close. You're really close in that you are the be here now, and that's why I said you are ground zero. And this goes for Sheila and each you out there. So you are ground zero. You are the vessel. Okay. This is the embodiment vessel. All of yous chose you to come and be here now, here. Is that making sense?
Well, it
You're
does.
the destination.
It does. However, I think I might be a little confused.
Ladies,
Yes.
I've been sitting here a minute. Can I have a short?
Oh,
Pause. Okay.
yes, we can pause.
Ready? Pause.
Yep. Everybody, I just said pause and then okay, but we're back. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was just saying that I was confused.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is that I'm thinking about this, or maybe it is that it's a couple of different things. Because, well, in the realm of all potentiality, then all things are possible, first of all. And I was feeling those other portions of me as separate embodiments. And because it was so quick, it's not like, so maybe it's just that I was holding it in too much of a linear fashion when I experienced it, partly because I didn't really quite grok all of what I was experiencing. But also, I've also read other things about folks having other physical embodiments that they are aware of, right? And so I was kind of thinking of like how one might visit another embodiment. Well, that embodiment's doing things in that realm without the me that's the little Sheila consciousness there directing it. So that portion of me is already there. It is the little Sheila consciousness me that was experiencing albeit very briefly. It was more like a packet of feeling, but I didn't have, didn't know the person's name, what their gig was. I didn't feel their consciousness or feel that particular embodiment's body. It wasn't, or vessel, it wasn't anything like that. And so maybe I was holding this in too linear a fashion, but when I blank out, for lack of a better word, like you were saying, BZ, you went unconscious. When I'm having that experience now, I have no recollection when I come back to myself, whether, I've actually been somewhere or whatever has been going on. I have no recollection of that experience. And I'm not, like I said, I'm kind of confused as is this consciousness visiting that embodiment? And I guess I'm just holding it a little too linear or something. They're not all in a completely out of phase realm. In some of these, instances where you read maybe slightly out of phase, but they are actual physical embodiments that have their own thoughts and feelings, and sometimes even a different sex, sometimes even a different, not human.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? So,
one of the things I'm being nudged to loosen, the skin on your head so it can go like this a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty tight too. I get it. I'm so linear. I cannot.
That was the first thing. Okay, so.
Well, what's funny about that for me is that I do feel a tightness right up in here right now. So when you said that, it's like.
Yeah. So a couple things I was just instructed to start with. One was to loosen, the other one is to start by creating a word picture. So, and this is Sheila, Lisa, whoever, whatever the name is, try it on. So you have at least a few different clothes, right? So like a few different shirts or a few different, maybe a couple sweaters or a coat or something, right? And so you can put one of those on, or you go into one of those, right? So I have come into this sweater, yes? And I go out and I do things and I'm part of this sweater, right? Because it moves with me. Oh, look at that, right? And if it's raining, it gets wet with me. And okay.
Yeah.
And so someone might see me in this sweater and say, oh yeah, hey, I like the sweater. Or someone else might say, have you seen me? Oh yeah, she just walked by. She was she was wearing a green Irish sweater. And okay. So there's description to that, right? So there's a linear thing. But you also have other shirt or other sweater or a coat or whatever. And so you can go out and be and do in that as well, yes? And you may do different activities. You may go totally different places. You may act and respond maybe if you've got a party dress for the good day occasions, or you dress up, or the company's over, right? You go. And is it fair to say that sometimes you act differently in that than you do maybe right here, or you speak differently than you do maybe right here? Right. So are you starting to, so you're not visiting or pretending to be or watching someone else do this. You are this, but you show up, you appear, you interact, you do things in different instances. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So your soul, which is you,
Mhm.
um, I'm struggling because on the one hand it's inaccurate, and on the other hand it so diminishes the magnificence of what it really is that it's frustrating and from a linear aspect kind of sad to do that, but I'll give it a go. So you are those other embodiments,
Right, I get that.
and
Maybe it would be helpful if I share with you what I feel, this sort of and it's inaccurate as well, but and I'm not sure how I feel about the words regarding, oversoul or anything like that, but because everything is so multidimensional, I've recently been seeing it as um, almost like an energetic jellyfish or an energetic octopus, if you will. And there's the majority, the all of me, the major part, and then there's the tentacles, the aspects of what the all of me is, right? And those tentacles, the consciousness that I hold in this vessel known as Sheila, um, I guess it's a question more than anything else. The consciousness is capable of being all those tentacles at once. I get that, and I feel that is accurate. It is my thought that with focus, attention, and practice, that as this holding continues, that this consciousness known as Sheila will feel, know, and be able to pull that, all of those experiences back in at any given moment that I desire. In other words, I can move the consciousness known as Sheila out of this vessel, traverse through one of the tentacles, for lack of a better, word and a placeholder only, into another embodiment that exists in another realm, in another dimension, in another density. In some cases, I'm given to understand even within this one realm, although I'm not quite sure how any of that would work. But, in the realm, in the idea of all potentiality, it doesn't really matter, because if I desire it to be, it can be. So it's a matter, I don't know, did that help at all?
yeah.
Or,
So I would say yes, with a caveat or two. You're frozen.
oh,
You're back.
yeah, of course I am. It says internet connection unstable, so
Okay.
sorry.
So did you hear what I said?
You said yes with a caveat or two.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. Just like you can remember, Lisa and BZ were going to come and connect with you tonight, right? You can remember that. So yes, you just as easily as you remember that, you remember, Alpha Centauri and Palladian and Source and Big Bad Dude and yes. And it's not just all beings. You are quasar and planets and stars and lower dimensional type, mountains. And so yes. And so here's one of the caveats. Yes, those are parts of you, the singularity of your energy frequency, so that the frequency singularity, right? So there's the Sheila singularity out of the frequency singularity, which is the soul, has those singularities. Does that make sense so far?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So yes to all of that. One of the caveats might be, and this is only kind of a way to, of that seems you're holding it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which changes maybe how others might understand it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you will you have a very strong bond and relationship with Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, so you've had conversations, you've talked about different things, and so so if you took another embodiment and has, let's just say with their counterpart, whoever that is, of Lisa, right? So you would then know that as intimately as you know this relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think so, but for some reason, all of a sudden, I feel not.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to give you an analogy. So you're called Sheila on planet Earth, and you have this really good friend, Lisa. You've had a lot of conversations. You've had a lot of, hey, remember that time we stopped at the coffee shop and we saw X, Y, and Z? Yes?
Right.
Okay. So now, and this is wholly inaccurate description and linear placeholders. So everybody's just got to get over it and go the best they can with it, because I'm trying to speak so the really right way into English language. It's hard to do. So Sheila is on an Alpha Centauri. I'm just making.
Okay, let's go with that.
And she and Harry are really tight. And they ride dragons together. They have all sorts of cool fun and experiences. And, they have long lunches and conversations with the dolphins, and it's great.
Great.
You, Sheila, can remember as clearly those times with, just looking at, past times, there is no such thing, but past times with Harry and the dolphins having lunch and a big conversation, as well as you can remember the lunch you had with Gina and Lisa when she came in for a stopover. Are you following me so far?
Yes.
That's a clear thought form, the Sheila, Gina, Lisa, clear
Yes.
thought form on that day last week. Got it?
Right.
Okay. And Sheila and Harry and the dolphins at lunch, clear thought form, same thing. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, in that respect. So you can do it on levels of consciousness as well. So there's a human 3D consciousness, there's more 4D consciousness, there's 5D consciousness, there's God consciousness, there's Christ consciousness, there's galactic consciousness, there's universe, right? And each of those is a wider and wider and wider aperture, right? And so just as I'm just using this as a placeholder, as those thought forms or that library of knowledge, please don't quote me, that's just a holder, a placeholder, right? So just like in sales and training, right, you have a whole library of knowledge and thought forms from this planet in this thing here, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to put that in binders in a book or a video or however it was, if you were to just go and put it into on a video, you'd have it, right? So the same thing you will have for those other things I just gave you
Right.
a few tiny little soupçons of examples. So here's kind of another branch to that caveat. Some of those are ones that are, and again, we're singularity and we're all one. So we'll start with the singular. So some of those are that which is you, the singularity, the planet, the star, the male being over there, the androgynous being over there, the Sheila being, which is another female type being over here, right? You know, all those is a singularity. Yes?
Right.
And
Individual
as
singularities unto themselves.
yes, but all of that is coming into you, all of the totality of that knowledge, experience, creative points, proficiencies, choices or preferences, right? So those are all known.
So are you saying then that the wholing of these other aspects are of, because I guess in this moment of now the question came up, and I don't know if this is mine or someone else's, it could be both. The consciousness has the ability to be in two embodiments at once. So it's just that as it implodes into this particular vessel, it's not as though it leaves the other, it just holds. And yet, so I guess there is
Okay,
a
so that's part of the part of another of the pieces of the caveat. Maybe it's all the same caveat. It's just a couple of pieces. So
I gotcha.
yes, with kind of a caveat.
Okay.
So yeah. Yes. And because this, all what this is and all that's going on that is this is big, like, you know, sources, multiverses, big, right? It's not just on this blue planet here. And it's certainly not Democrats and Republicans, and it's not just the last 10 years. Okay.
Right.
So it's big.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely new. So in the so you said, so the consciousness is in both places. That's not quite accurate, but okay, close enough. We'll go with that for right this minute. So Sheila and Sheila, they're okay, right? Two-way street, the whole 9 yards, lunch all the time. No, not miss a beat. Sheila can come over here, talk to Lisa, and hey, you know, Lisa would know that it's Sheila through Sheila, but right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So yes. And some, perhaps as you keep the holing more and more and more, and it depending on your choice, right? Some, perhaps many, maybe even most or all, can dematerialize and complete whatever, wherever, who, what, where, and whenever they were, and just completely come back in
I see.
to here. Does that make sense?
Yes, like if the choice of that embodiment was to, okay, I get it. Yeah. Because well, couldn't that be going on here too?
Yeah.
Well, I was
That's
just going to say, I am still playing with this and still trying to decode some of the experiences that I've had. But my brother, who is referred to as my twin, although not in the normal sense that one thinks of, because we were born same time, same date, 3 years apart. And he left the planet this year. And I thought, I didn't see that coming. And little thought forms, little vignettes, little, I don't quite how to describe it. And I'll simple way to say it is the linear part of me is still, kind of make my eyes not quite as big as saucers and play with that. So I don't have a full certainty on that yet, but there's a potentiality that is another aspect of me that in this holding process has chosen to complete that and come back in. Not haven't played with that all around the bot, but in fact, it's taken me some work to even get to that, just playing with it. But there are little things that I would describe as kind of irrefutable, that are kind of hard to brush off as like I don't know how to describe it, like they add weight to that. It's not my theory, so I keep being given little pieces of that, and I'm so maybe that's where the uncertainty, because I'm still going, really?
Well, I can feel into that too, because I've actually had that experience where I'm like, no, that can't, because I recognized what it was for me as I was going through that just a little earlier today. That was, I guess, me going, no, that's not possible. I'm not like that. It's not like that. It can't be that. Yeah. Like full well feeling that it is, but it's almost like me arguing for being small. Right. I recognized it the minute it started, but it didn't change the feeling.
Well, and for me, the tip off was, first of all, I knew that he was gone before anybody officially in linear-esque way told me. And as I was playing with it, I thought, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I wasn't just talking about him leaving the planet. I was talking about all the other things that were,
Right.
And then life came up, or some other thing came up, and it was like, but anyways, so to go back to what we were talking about, so yes, that was part of an example. So you said there are other embodiments. Yes, and you had mentioned other embodiments in the same realm. Yes, and that's an example of one of those. There's others, and because we've talked about this before, so I'm going to try to think of a way to say it in this. So we're all on a trajectory away from source. Source is going forth to know source. So with the quantumness and multidimensionalness, you could have, I'm just going to, pull a fictitious number out. You could have 52 quinzillions of individual sparks of source going out. but then you go into the thing of, you've got the soul families and the soul groups, which are different than just aspects of yourself, and some instances part of those are the same, over souls and all those kind of stuff. So I don't play a lot with that, because a lot of that it's too linear in delineation for me, because I feel into it rather than, I don't need to chart it. That's not how I experience it. That's not how I flow with it. And I don't want to hierarchical it, because I want to be it, or rediscover it, or blend with it, or hang out with it, or be subject to one another with it. This is kind of the way I hold it. So that's just me, and other people do it other ways, and some people do it a combination of things, and it's all cool, because that's, but so when we go out to a source, knowing source, and every time, so Sheila, just example, or Lisa, has a big choice point. So Albert or not, yes or no. And we've talked about this before, because you had a thing with the exact Albert and the exact Jasmine and the exact Lisa.
Yes.
Although very different, although just slightly different. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a quantum aspect, because it's a lateral aspect. So it's you, and in you being you, in that venue, that thread, that, think of all the colors and threads in the tapestry, but they're like a hollow core fiber, and the essence goes in all of those. And a lot of those are definitely unwinding, excuse me, and unbinding and imploding back into you. So that's another piece of the different aspects of the energy signature frequency, which is Sheila on one hand, and the other being on another planet. So is that making sense? So a lot of those ones that are on the same planet, that may be, they have their own life, their own thing, their own and in different
Well, it's clear to me that I was holding it in way too linear a fashion, first of all.
yes,
so there's that part now.
because it doesn't go like this. We've talked about it. It's toroidal,
right,
in all the aspects of you. The dimensions, people will think third, fourth, fifth, sixth, because it's a higher number, so it's a higher, so
Right.
more rarefied. That's not accurate either. It's the
Yeah.
way the linear mind decodes it. It's the way some of the first linear minds that were playing with it and reaching that wider aperture did it and process it. It's not, well, now is a really good time to start to let go of all those. So
Right.
if you go with toroidal, that'll help you. So every time you try to go, just go like this, and that's going to help your sensing and knowing more, and it'll help actually decode within your brain and stuff more. So dimensions.
Well, this conversation on the whole has helped me with that decoding portion on the conversation on the whole. And my description to you of more, and I do see it more like a jellyfish situation with the tendrils, and your explanation of the thread with the hollow core is exactly what I was seeing. Lisa and I have been revisiting Stargate Atlantis, and there's a lot of, traversing through a wormhole. And so I see this in, and I think I was holding, my consciousness in its singularity as being, oh, well, again, sort of small, obviously. And instead of seeing that it can and is multidimensional and multi-layered, enough to be in two places at once within the same realm. Because I was holding it for a bit that no, you couldn't do that. But I can see where that's not. Of course you.
In the same realm, two places at once.
No, I know that's. I know that's what I said. I can see very clearly.
You better get a whole lot more octopi, and a whole lot more tentacles, and you might just start to come up with the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can clearly see now that although I thought I was not holding it in a linear fashion, that it was quite the linear fashion is, although that loosening up feels like it's kind of going.
Listen, you could take the girl out of the linear. The tricky part is taking that linear out of the girl, okay?
Well,
right.
I'm just trying to get a picture here I can show you, because I think if I have a yes, it is kind of taking the linear out of the girl and the girl out of the linear, but
the blood is rushing in my head so fast right now. I can hear the blood pulsing in my ears, ladies.
Yes, because more synapses and more things. You're doing what I'm about to describe.
I mean, it's.
So.
I mean. Oh. And my eardrum is reverberating again. It did that earlier today.
So this is really
what happened to your microphone, BZ?
I just pushed it the other way. This is really important so everybody loosen their brain or their skull or however you want to hold it, because more and more and more as this energy comes in, and we're going to have a big bang moments here coming up. Let's see if I did this right. Okay, so if you think, can you see here where it's very fine, this color?
Yes.
So if we could look at this color for a moment, and so this is Lisa, and it's not accurate, but it's a little bit of a start. So she's coming to a point, and she's met Albert, right? And so these other threads are maybe the one in the center that's a little bit bigger. See how that's kind of wider? So this is like a trunk. So met Albert, yes, great, married, okay. And then there's other node points from there. And then there's a small one over here, met Albert, no. something different, and that's here. And then, so this is one example here of just Lisa in this chair, in this little Lisa,
Mhm.
and all of these Lisas on a third slash fourth slash increasing to fifth slash at the least density dimensional planet in embodiment, in existence, in a chair, on Zoom
Mhm.
right now. And this is a very simplified picture of that. Are you getting that?
Yes.
And by the way, all of, well, let's see. Yes, I mean, I'm going to, okay, to simplify it, all these colors
Mhm.
are all, this is just a simplified, very simple, very simplified, simplistic description. So all of these colors in this image are Sheila, the energetic signature, which is Sheila and Sheila's soul right here. So,
Oh, pretty.
so remember how I just said when I was talking about Lisa and this color, right, coming down and all those different things. So these are all aspects. You can't say embodiments because not all are in a body. Some are in no form. Some are pure energy. Some are in no form as an embodiment, but they're in other forms of cohesive structure of an energetic form, which is different than nothingness in pure energy form, which is different than just source, you know, in the no thingness on the field of all possibility before. Does that kind of make sense? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a big it's a whole big enchilada that's very colorful. So anyways, so some of these are, and I'm just going to use, you know, so Sheila, so some of these are Sheila as a planet or a star or a quasar. Some of these are Sheila as different animals on different planets. Some of these are Sheila as, you know, different kinds of geological formations, asteroids or rocks or mountains, or right, you know. So just again to make it very simple for a moment, because a lot of people's heads are hurting, and we haven't even barely take one flake that's, you know, like a nano sliver wide on the tip of an iceberg, and we haven't even scratched that, how this is. But anyways, so all of this, all of these aspects are imploding into Sheila right here, the one right there. Okay, some of the, so part of that you could describe as the totality of the knowing, experiencing, preferences, abilities, predilections, you know, favorite color, favorite ice cream, right? You know, those are all coming into Sheila. Does that make sense so far? And that's super simplified. Some of these will completely come to completion in whatever this fiber color represents that they were, and they will just go back into the pure energy aspect inside of Sheila. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It'll be integrated within.
Yes. Yes. So some of those are what I just described as the quantum aspects of Lisa on the Albert node point, on the Jasmine node point, before birth, all that kind of stuff. So, because all of those, right? So you talked about 3 car accidents, is that correct? Okay, so you have, think of a bundle of beautiful fabrics and fibers and colors before 1, and that's limiting it, and then before 2, and before 3, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Sheila's 3 husbands, okay, right? So
Yeah.
you're not small. Okay, so get over it. So anyways, I'm really oversimplifying and leaving a whole lot of it out, and this image is something that I've played with for years and years and years because, well, it's beautiful, but it's because you can see detail. You can, look at this right here, and all these different, and each one, it's from the same thing, so it's kind of yellow, but if you were to sharpen up close, you'd see that there's lots of nuances in it. So that's a good representation of yours. So anyways, that's a very simplified, simplistic way to describe what's happening. And yes, the information or the knowing or the remembering or the kind of the sum total, bad way to describe it, but the sum total of life experiences or whatever go both ways. But because, as I said, when Sheila and Lisa first started this, and Lisa was telling her description, those phrases that came, again, you're not small, so we have just a tiny glimpse of that. Mm-hmm. You are ground zero. So maybe if you think where all these colors, let's say, excuse me, see the corner of this right up here, the corner,
right?
So let's say that that's you in the chair, just to give a representational point. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're ground zero. So all of this is coming back to here. You're the vessel. Okay. So remember, all of you got together and chose, we just described chose you. Okay. In coordination.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, BZ. Okay, so yeah, I think that's part of maybe what I was struggling with. When we talk about embodiments and singularities, what you just said about all those embodiments or all those aspects of me got together and chose this particular embodiment to experience the imploding into. Is that what I understood you to say? Okay. That actually is very helpful to think of it in those terms.
Remember how many times I've said, and I'm not the only one who said it, but standing room only to get on the planet now and what's occurring now, and how there's something so unique and so amazing and so grand and so sublimely delicious about the human being, the truth of the human being, the truth of the organic human, the truth of what is happening right now at this point in this moment, singular moment on this planet, which affects all, right? So again, going back to where this cursor is, I'll just move it so people can see it. So you are the vessel. So again, as we do with anything, when we, Lisa was talking about be here now. Okay, so you think about a bunch of different things when you hear that phrase, and as you play with it more and you are in the whole embodiment process and what we're talking about here of be here now, well, it takes on a whole different scope, just like inside job. An inside job takes on a whole different scope, right? And hidden in plain sight. Okay, so you are the vessel. So same thing. I love everybody to play with, not necessarily now, but afterwards, play with you are the vessel, and all the myriad of things on whole different levels and layers that come up from that come into that blossoms into that beholds for you, because there's a whole lot of stuff that most haven't played with yet, and it's quite fascinating. You are the destination. Could be the same kind of play with that. And here's one, and I'm told it's okay because it's helpful and serves a purpose right here, but it isn't quite what I saw and felt and got. But and the last one I wrote down here was you are Gaia point on you are the Gaia point on the Trinity. And again, Gaia is a very special being in all that's occurring right here. So the last thing I want to say on this tiny little aspect of just scratching this is, or kind of a side note to nudge to say right here is a lot of times, if you look back, maybe it has, I don't think there's, well, I don't know. Anyways, if you look back, so around 2011 or 2012, you could see a lot of channeling, you could see a lot of information, you could see a lot of stories where it was much more hierarchical. Any information coming in seemed to have a slant. In fact, I could then say, okay, well, I'm being nudged not to read any further because it wasn't looking at the totality of the whole picture, because there still was very clear, planet Earth's got all these human beings and they're growing up now and they're going to come and do these things, and because they're small and
right, and they were all just here to watch or whatever.
Right.
I gotcha.
Anyway, so the Gaia has a huge I forgot where I was going with this. It has a anyways, that last point, that you are Gaia on point of that Trinity within you, of what's going on. So you could look at it maybe as, and this is simplified, but there's you here in the corner as one point, and we could just say for a very large catch-all, this is your soul, right?
Right.
And that all comes together and it creates the third in the Trinity. So it's very simplified, but
right.
But that's why I'm saying that on Gaia, and there's no coincidence, there's no mistake that this is happening on Gaia, and you are that point, that ground zero, that vessel, the destination, the one that all of you chose to do this. That's why there's the irony, and that's why part of the, to kind of delay and delay and delay, although never thwart, never stop, because it's already occurred, you could say, which is accurate. But from, if you're looking from a more linear epoch storyline, the cabal is squashing in all these people and delaying these things and using chemtrails to block out the light and all this kind of stuff. And because it's in what they're trying to do is stop those. Remember, we have the different, it's funny, different little kind of segments in so many of the videos that we've done. So remember that pulsing that's in you to awaken you. So the chemtrails are just stuff. So anyways, all those things, it looks like, video feeds, all those colors are video feeds coming in. But so all of those things have been done to stop and to thwart this very thing that's happening now, where as you guys are describing, you're having these things where it's coming back online. So we haven't even gotten to some of what I experienced yesterday, which we can get to that some other time if people want, but and what you guys have experienced, and what's that in between. There's an in between stage, and to me what's really exciting is there are no years in between. So you've got whatever you've got now, and then hang on, because and from my own experience, the deliciousness when those moments where I would say, well, I just went unconscious, right? To realizing what it was, to playing with it, to figuring out how to work, to doing it, the example I gave, it worked, and then to new things are just so amazing that anything that you ever thought you wanted to do or could do or whatever is, compared to.
Well, BZ, anyone that's hung into this video to now is going to want to hear some of that experience. So I'm sorry. If you think you're getting off without at least a little something for everyone, you can forget that. You've got to give us a little something of what you experienced. We can go into it in more detail if you're willing at another time or something, if you feel like there's not enough time. But I think I know I heard, because I want to hear at least a little bit more about it too. And unless, we just all too tired and we have to go.
Well, what I'd like to because I think, because there's a lot of stuff that we've played with here that's really helpful and it's good. And so I would like to finish this by just giving a little bit of a sense of what it was, and then we can do another one.
Can we do away with this part though?
What?
So I can see you while you're telling this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I was going to use this as an example, but okay.
Oh, well, you can do that if you want.
Did I stop sharing?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Okay.
You can do that if you want. I didn't mean to take away your visual.
Well, no, that's okay. It's just, so one of the things I think is helpful to linearize it for a moment. So on the one hand, yesterday when this was happening, and it was over a stretch of about an hour and 15 minutes when I was working on the photographs, and in that hour and 15 minutes in linear time, I would say to describe it again in a very linear way, to start with, the going unconscious, like I was there and then I was back, or hey, I'm awake and oh, I'm back, probably 20 some odd times anyways. Okay, so that would be one thing. I could also, so again, I'm kind of slicing it out and linearizing. So I could also explain that there were, and time is one of those funny things that doesn't exist anyways, but I'm just going to put a kind of a placeholder on. So there were 20 segments of time and whole scenes, right, of things occurring, complete robust scenes occurring in those 20 times. Okay, so that's another way to describe it. I am there in whatever that is. I am I would describe it as I am me in this shirt, and I am me there, and there is no separation between the two. And if I was, okay, so for example, in the here now, in the quote unquote unconscious part, I have a computer, a desk, a chair, a mouse, and 1,200 or more pictures of eagles looking at. So that was this part. So just as I could describe that and know how to do that and have the whole backstory to the eagle trip, right?
Mhm.
In each of those other places, it was the same thing. Does that make sense so far?
It was the same thing. The
So
same.
I could describe, I could characterize them as the same thing. Just like I said, there's a mouse. So whatever would be representational for a mouse, there could have been a hoe, there could, right?
I see. In other words, you fully consciously, you in the chair right this moment, know all that you
Yes.
did.
And just like when I sit here, I don't look at this and go, what the hell is that? Right? I know
Right.
it's a mouse. I know if it stops working, you know how to fix it, right? So what I'm saying is that in those other different places, use the mouse as a metaphor. I could pick up that or look at that mouse in one of those other and go, oh, I know that's a something or other, and I know what to do with it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm kind of linearizing it and I'm parsing them out and making them separate on purpose, because that's a good way to back out of it. That's one of the ways, because otherwise it just is. And so when I'm over here, it just is. And so I have to back out of it anyways to describe it. So you did something at breakfast today. You had something for breakfast and you did something at breakfast today. Yes? Okay. So you have that experience. You felt something, you tasted something, you maybe smelled something, you may have heard something, right? So there was an experience.
Right.
If someone says, well, what'd you do? You have to kind of think for a minute, and you may describe it, but you may leave some of those things out because it just is, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I'm doing this is two reasons. One, on the side of trying to of describing it, so piecing it out. And when each of us, each you, has these kinds of things, on first blush, they go, well, what happened? Where was I? What have I been doing? Right? So you don't remember anything. But you do. It's a decoding of it. So if I can describe it this way, it helps people to understand they need, for them, not only if they're going to share with someone else, but for themselves, they need to piece it back out this way. And they may do it differently than I do, but because you're not separate from, does that make sense? You're not
Yes.
separate. You are that. And so you're Sheila and you had breakfast, and there's a large part of that quality that it just is. You just did, right?
Right.
If someone says, well, what time was it? You have to go, do you see what I'm trying to get at?
Yes.
Because if you start to understand this is a tool, what I'm trying to kind of highlight is a tool for your own recapturing, your own recounting, your own reconstruction, your own remembering, your own,
Because you're saying that it's there, even though.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll give an example. I had an experience of, well, like I said before, of being in two places at once, but I don't have all the nuances of whatever was going on. Let's say the tea party in the woods with the fairies. Okay, I don't have all the nuances. It was so. What you're offering here is a tool to bring those
Yes.
nuances in. Okay.
Yes. And it's oftentimes easier if you kind of play with the tool or the tool that I just mentioned. You go, oh, that's it. That's it. Than like anything like what I just described and talked about. But that's perfect because now it's bing, your tool.
Right.
And that's kind of how all of this works. So what I'm wanting a nudge to say here is that this is helpful, the kind of the awareness of the tool, however you will sculpt it to look, because you're going to go, not only you, but you are going to go through all of this over and over and over and over, because this is that thing we just discussion we had of that picture a minute ago. It's happening.
Right.
And so in that full-time, big time coming out, all those things are coming online. And I think it was this time that Lisa said, it's a little overwhelming. They all want to be here now. And it's like, whoa, it's like coming in hard with this little me. It's just little me, but nobody all want to do it. So this is a tool that will help you because you can allow that to happen. And why do you think you wake up tired? And why do you think you feel like you have to go to sleep or something? And why do you feel like, whoa, I'm phasing out, and and you're walking sideways? Anyways, so just to name a few. So if you have this can then at your leisure, and you're not grasping for it, and you're like, damn, that happened, but I don't remember anything. It's broken, doesn't work. So this is to help let go of all that. De-linearize, de-ego mind, sweep the baloney out of the way and help you with that. So if you can just kind of at least keep a thought of it somewhere to play with.
Well, and relaxing into it too.
Yes.
I've come to feel part of what you were describing there. There's been a lot of times I'll experience something and I don't quite understand it all, like you said, and that grasping just pushes it out farther. Just allowing it to be, and even if I don't quite fully grok what it is that's come in or whatever, that toroidal or spiral or whatever you want to call this existence that we are existing in, just because it's not in here at that moment doesn't mean that it's not already here. That
it's just a matter of decoding it and allowing it, and is it the right time because of all the different things. So on the one hand, so if you have the awareness, okay, so we mentioned the tool, so you're gonna take that tool and it will transform however you transform it. I can't tell you because you're you and you'll do it because you're that good. Okay, so you've got it. So you could go, oh yeah, there was this time and I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to poke that time that I can. Yeah, you could. That's a linear kind of thing. That's an ego mind. So perhaps not so helpful to play with that. But the next one that comes around, and you don't have to wait long, trust me. Because we're in it thick now. So the next one comes around, that will help you. And what you'll find is this tool that you have created and you're playing with will help you unpack the next one or the one that's coming up now. And you will actually like part of it could then be a laser pointer. And as you're playing with it and you're kind of maybe tracing it or sculpting it or whatever words you might use for it, it will shine a laser point through to the other, this is just words hold placeholder, to the other side of the toroidal where there was another one previous, and you'll go, oh, because there's something, in the tapestry of this one that reaches to that. And that's a helpful way to play with it, because then you start to actually feel and sense and know how you are a linear way it could be constructed. It's more flowing, it's more, the as the woof and the weave of those colors, blend. And as one brushes in front of another, you, from a color wise, you'd see that those two overlap, and so it's not red and orange, but there's the blend of them, right? But in the blend of them, because everything is frequency, it's just a slightly different nuance on that frequency. So that actually is a third different thing that you can then unfold. Does that make any sense at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that made really good sense.
So
yeah.
what if we stop here, or go a little bit further, but basically stop here, and then we can do I'm happy to go into more on mine, but I think that the tool and these other things are helpful to at least hold and containerize in here, and then we can do another one on that.
This has been a really good one, and very helpful for me in particular. So, wow. Well, I'm really glad that we decided to talk about this one.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah. Do either one of you want to add anything to this one? Oh, okay.
Just
All right.
the
Well,
linear talk is just
yeah, I know.
it's hard to do.
Well, I do feel like this is happening for all. Well, I know it is happening for all of us. It's just when you start to get glimpses of things, it's sometimes a little confusing to make sense out of, but it does come. Just breathing into it seems to help for me a lot. So, all right. Well, we'll have all the usual things in all the usual places, ways for you to get in touch with each one of us. And if you'd like to comment, and there'll be ways to get a hold of everybody in the show more section of this video, as it is in all videos. And I encourage comments. I love them. I know BZ does too. So till next time.
Much love.